So let's talk about the fallacy of the friend zone and why I think the friend zone remains an interesting concept like it wasn't already interesting. I feel like the friend zone is like the 11th wonder of the world and the 10th wonder is a woman's pussy. The reason I say the friend zone is such a like enigmatic theme to explore is because people have a different understanding of it. I mean, I've noticed that even though men are the ones who created the friend zone as a concept, they are the ones who seem to be the most resentful of it. And what I mean by that is, generally speaking, it appears as though men don't value having friendships with women. What they value instead is having intimate access to women. And the reason that the friend zone, in my opinion, exists is because men don't value having friendships with women. Because if men valued having friendships with women, it wouldn't be called friend zone. It would just be called she's my friend. But the idea of a friend zone, when you actually kind of like turn the friend zone into a visual, what I see is like a set of fences, and there's like some sort of enclosure where if you cross that fence or if you cross that barrier, then you will be electrocuted. So there are consequences for breaching a boundary that has been set for you. And part of why this boundary is so hurtful to be in the presence of is because it was the woman who set that boundary. What's interesting as well is that while I'm of the impression, I'm saying I'm of the impression to be nice. Let's just face facts here. Men really don't be valuing their friendships with women unless they want to fuck them. And if they do value those friendships with those women, it's on the rare occasion that they actually do deeply have such an important and quite powerful bond with that woman that has formed over such a period of time where it's not about their sexual attraction to that woman, even if there is a percentage of sexual attraction they have towards that woman. That is in the rarer sort of category. And I feel like I'm lucky enough to have that in my life with my guy friends who I would call my closest like guy friends, where I feel deeply respected by my guy friends. I feel really, really loved by my guy friends. I feel like I lucked out genuinely with my guy friends. Like, they are such good peoples. And, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like, my guy friends are proof that great men exist. But the fact that my guy friends exist makes me more angry at men because I didn't make my guy friends be the people that they are. They actually chose to be such kind, loving, respectful people. So what are the rest of you doing? That's how I see it in terms of the love I have for my guy friends. And I don't feel like any of my guy friends would describe their relationship with me as friend zone, because friend zone implies that you want to smash and you was told no. So doesn't that tell you something then about how the word friend zone has this sort of like shady undertone to it? Because if friend zone was genuine and if friend zone was a good thing, then men wouldn't use it to describe being told that they just need to be friends with a woman. And it's also interesting that the word friend zone even exists because it's like, do men not know how to be friends with women that they want to fuck? Like, why can't you actually just be her friend? Like, why can't two things be true at once? Like, I don't know. I feel like when I observe men that I have quote unquote friend zoned, I feel like if I have quote unquote friend zoned that man, it's because he's probably stingy. Like, from the time, listen, you had a 30-day trial period, yeah? And in that trial period, okay, let me just be clear, yeah? the trial period isn't necessarily always 30 days, but for the sake of conversation, you was in a 30-day trial period, yeah? And in that 30 days, you were stingy from day 1 to day 30. So now that your trial period has ended, I've seen that you're not someone I would fuck. So you can still be my friend though. Like, you're not a bad person. I would still enjoy hanging out with you. It's just that, like, we're probably not going to hang out that much. Because, I don't know. I'm picking up vibes that you fancy me. But stinginess is a big one for me. Because just like how I touched on earlier about how I have such incredible guy friends, yeah? Like, I've had guy friends do things for me that boyfriends haven't done. And it's not because they want to, I promise you, it's not because they want to smash. Like, it's just because they actually love me and I love them too. And they want to see me safe and well and supported, and they will do what's in their power to make that happen. Like, that is what a guy friend should be doing. And it feels like when guys who are in the quote unquote friend zone are in this said zone, they don't even see that there's still an opportunity for themselves to actually just like get to know this woman as a person. Instead, they see it as like a prison that they need to break out of. So then that's where sometimes you might notice, if you quote unquote friend zone a guy, he suddenly works harder to get intimate with you. And that to me is usually somehow because why can't you just like still be my friend but be really nice to me? Like, men be missing the mark all the time. And these are the people I'm supposed to put my future in the hands of? I think the fuck not. Not when you can't even be a friend to me. And, you know, going back to this guy, there's a guy that I'm friends with, yeah? And I feel like when our friendship initially began, he was flirting with me. But I noticed very early on that he's stingy. And have I said already that my biggest ick is stinginess? If I haven't said that already, which I know I have, but if I haven't said that already, let it be known, my biggest ick is stinginess. I don't like stingy men. Stinginess is when a guy is like acting reluctant to spend money. It's like, you're in the presence of a beautiful woman. You should consider yourself lucky to be around a woman as beautiful and exciting and enigmatic as me, and it ain't gonna do nothing to you to spend the money that you were gonna spend that money at some point this week anyway on something else. You were gonna spend the money anyway, but you're just acting weird about it because you don't feel like there is pussy promised on the other side of this transaction, you clown. But there was this guy who, my friendship with him, you know, started from him sort of flirting with me, and I gave him some time to show me who he is. And he's still my friend, but he's definitely not going to touch my breast. There's no way. Like, you're not getting that chance because you're stingy. And I've noticed with him, yeah, he's just really stubborn about it. And I say stubborn not from a place of me having been like pressing him about spending money or pressing him. But there's been times when, you know, I've been my normal self that I am. And it might be that what is it that I asked him the other day? He invited me somewhere. And I was like, oh, is this a treat? I'm in. And then he was like, no, it's not a treat. And I was like, oh, that's really anticlimactic. That's really, you've gone and made it awkward now because it wouldn't have cost you that much. But you wanted to be stubborn and stingy. So now you've made it really awkward. Like, I'm allowed. I have the rights to ask a guy if it's a treat, if he's asking me out to go hang out with him. It wasn't like he was asking me on a date. But he just asked me if I wanted to go somewhere. I asked if it's a treat and he said it's not a treat. So I was like, okay then. Doesn't mean my friendship with him is going to end. Like, I still see him as a cool person to be friends with. It's just that if he thought there's any chance he's going to see one flap of my pussy, he should just kiss that chance big goodbye. Like, that chance is gone with the wind, my dear. It's not coming back still. It's actually not coming back because that's so weird. Like, if I was a guy and I was friends with someone as sexy as me, I just can't imagine. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, even when I'm out with my women friends, like, we be fighting at the till over who's gonna tap whose card to like pay for our crisp for each other. Like, let alone a guy hanging out with a woman as sexy as me. Imagine fumbling that. That's so weird. Because it's like, if you can fumble that, then you're definitely going to fumble more serious things if I decided to take you seriously in the direction of sexual intimacy. We're not even going to go there. I'm not even giving you the chance to fumble anything, because men usually show you who they are super early on. You just need to pay attention. And this is why I think that it's so important to be friends with men. Like, don't be scared. Don't be scared of no friend zone, fam. And when I say don't be scared of no friend zone, from the woman's perspective, what I mean by that is, if you have decided that you want to be friends with a guy who is chatting you up, like, really take ownership of that decision. And I think it's a sexy choice to make, you know, to be like, look, I don't want to do anything for you, but if you want to be my friend, you can be my friend. Because if I was a guy, I would take that as an opportunity to be a really, really awesome friend to her. Like, I would be the friend who, like, you know, I'm coming to, like, if you're a woman musician, I'm coming to your gigs. I'm shouting the loudest at your gigs. I am there to, like, give you feedback on things. I'm in your Instagram comments being like, you go girl, we're so proud of you. Like, I will just be a really supportive guy friend to you, to an extent where it's like, if I was to flirt with you out of the blue as your guy friend, you're not gonna feel like, ew, what's this? Because if anything, as the woman that's on the receiving end of this level of support, you'd probably be looking at him differently already. Like, oh my God, that is actually really sweet. Like, if you're this lovely as a friend, I can't imagine you as a boyfriend. Do you know what I mean? This is why I think it's so great to be friends with men who are deserving of the friendship, because you can actually kind of get a picture of what they might be like as a boyfriend. There is no guy friend I have at the moment who I have imagined dating. I don't see them in a dating way. And it's not because they wouldn't make great partners. It's just, I don't see them in a sexual way, or I don't fantasize about them in that way. If anything, I just fantasize about, like, more of the fun stuff we're going to do together, and all the, like, moments as friends we're going to have together, and us being in the background of each other's biggest moments. So that's probably what I spend my time thinking about. But when it comes to, like, sexual fantasies of guy friends, if I have had sexual fantasies of guy friends, those fantasies have definitely expired by now, because those guys who I once held those fantasies about have done something that has made me think, this ain't it. Like, I've noticed, yeah, sometimes this one is not, it's not as common, but it can happen, and it will happen at some point to you if you date men. Sometimes guys will friend zone you first in order to kind of, like, protect themselves from potential rejection. And how you can tell is, even though they friend zoned you, they will still kind of, like, on the off chance, flirt here and there. But that flirting is kind of like they're just trying to, like, check to see if you'll fall for it or not. But it's safe enough for, if you don't fall for it, they're not going to feel a sense of, like, you know, ego injury, as opposed to if they would just be full on frontal about how much they fancy you, you know, all that weird sort of going through the back door to flirt kind of thing. I also think that when these guys friend zone you first, they're doing it oftentimes as a mechanism of reverse psychology to see if, now that they have friend zoned you, are you gonna now try and break out of the friend zone? Because that's what they would do. That's what they would do if you friend zoned them. Like, they want to see if you can chase them. Like, these guys want to be chased. So just because a guy's friend zoned you, I want to say, like, I'm not saying every single time a guy friend zones you it's because he's trying to be up on some reverse psychology mastermind plan. But, you know, the chances are slim but never zero. And I've experienced that with a guy who, like, how when we first met, he was being a lot more flirty. And then he quickly realized that I'm not the kind of woman that he can get away with the things he's used to getting away with other women. But he does still value the friendship he has with me. So we kind of mutually declare. It wasn't even a declaration. Declaration sounds dramatic and formal, but we kind of mutually came to this place where we're like, oh, we're like friends. We're like brothers and sisters. I have that with quite a few guy friends where it's like, we're like brothers and sisters, which I don't mind. It's just interesting when, oh, you're doing well like brothers and sisters, but like if on the off chance I tripped over and landed on your dick, you wouldn't have a problem with that. It's kind of weird. I'm not sure I'm into incest. It's kind of weird, not gonna lie. But these are the things that men will do to kind of like keep their intentions as obscure as possible. But if you're paying attention, you will see it. I also just feel like sometimes a lot of guys think that because they are your friend, they deserve special exceptions. Almost like they don't feel like they have to actually still court you and date you and dote on you just because they've known you for a while. It's like, excuse me, what you're going to need to do for me right now is form a single file queue like everyone else has done. And when it's your turn, you're going to collect your raffle ticket and you're going to wait like a good boy for your number to be called. Just like everyone else. You are not going to get any fast track privileges just because I've already known you. So just shut up and follow the protocol. But that's how I see it though. It's like, yeah, just because I was already friends with you doesn't mean that like I'm not gonna still need to see what you're like. Like you need to make yourself stand out. It's tough crowd, tough competition, but may the best man win. I'm serious though. Like some guys think that, oh, because I've been your friend, I don't need to take you out on a date. And that's how people slip into that friends with benefits rubbish. And the reason I call it rubbish is because sex with a guy is not a benefit. An orgasm is not a benefit. You can get that by yourself. Like, come on, please. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like, let's stop doing this now. Come on. Be real now. Like, ugh. The only benefits, if we're talking about sex with benefits is money. Benefits is, I don't know, like you're putting me onto resources that are life changing. I would actually fuck for that. Like if I'm already friends with you and you want us to introduce benefits to this friendship, I would strongly consider friends with benefits if money is involved, if life-changing resources are involved. I'm considering that. But if the only benefit is orgasms, where's the benefit for me? Because the only person benefiting is the guy. Like, you can't, as a woman, be telling me that, like, the only way you can access feeling good about your body is through a man. I don't know about that. I just think that's a really easy way to be swindled by men. And there are better ways to go about that because, you know, I do think there are scenarios where you can engage in friends with benefits with men and the benefits is actually beneficial to you. Like I said, I made it very clear what I would fuck for if we're talking friends with benefits. If the cash is there, oh yeah, no. Come on, benefit me. Let me be your beneficiary, baby. But yeah, I hate cheap men. Especially when cheap men think that they can be cheap and also still touch you while being in the friend zone. Like, how dare you? First of all, how dare you be cheap? So you like women, but you don't like making women feel safe when you know that a woman cannot live in this world without money. You know that. I know that. We all know that. But suddenly you want to act like you are above that. So what happens when you do that? You get left behind. You don't make the cut for that. I also don't mess with men who, like, they want to be friends with you because they want to have sex with you later. And a lot of men that do this, yeah, of course, like, straight men are known for doing this. But listen, don't put it past queer men too. Especially, like, bisexual men. Like, listen, I feel like queer men is a rather, like, underexplored territory in this podcast because I haven't dated many queer men. I have a lot of queer men in my life, but I haven't dated many. I've kind of, like, talked to, like, when you're just, like, flirting and it's like, do you know what? I don't have the energy for this. Like, especially when it's a queer guy who's, like, really good looking. It's like, look, I know that you get the same amount of attention from men as I do. So you know what it's like to be me. But at the same time, you can't outsass me. And I'm not going to dote on you. Like, if you are not going to give me the treatment that I expect from any other guy, I'm just not going to give you my time. You can just go be good looking elsewhere. Like, and usually those guys, they hear from me less and less and less. I do believe in withdrawing contact from men who think that they can, like, get in through the back door. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? I don't even blame you. I blame all of the women before me who gave you all of this attention, who made you feel like you are the exception because you have a nice face. Because you know what it is, yeah? Women be treating men like how they look. So if you come across a guy who's really good looking, like, you automatically treat him as though he's a better person because he looks better than most people, when that's not the case. You don't know that. But it's interesting how we live in a society that does pretty much, like, push the idea that the better looking a person is, the better treatment they have. I mean, that's why models exist. Like, it's about aspiration. It's about desiring something that is unattainable. And when we look at the people who are successful, most of them are, like, incredibly good looking. So we tell ourselves that those are such good people because they look good looking as well. And then when you see an ordinary person walk past you and they have the features of somebody who would look like a celebrity, like, you automatically just, like, give them more special exceptions because they're good looking. And I think it's like a scarcity mindset, like a fear that, like, oh my God, I'm never going to come across a good looking guy again. Why wouldn't you? You need to treat these guys like they're regular, because a man is regular until he proves himself to be exceptional. That's how I do things. And that's how I don't get swindled by good looking men. Because listen, I've had experiences with good looking men, yeah, where 1 week was enough for me to be like, okay, do you know what, yeah? I have learned I've learned more about men in 1 week than I have in a year from just spending 1 week with this man in my life. And I'm like, oh, is that how you lot do things? Say less. Say less. Say less. Say less. Say less. Don't worry, it is well. I've seen. That's what you lot are doing, yeah? Okay, noted. Like, listen, I had an encounter with a guy. We didn't even have sex. We didn't do anything. We went on one date. But, like, I want to say, like, a 1 to 2 week window was enough for me to learn that, oh, is this how good looking men behave? Yeah, I'm not doing that. You have to find, ask somebody else to do it. Ask somebody else to do it. This man was fine. Okay. He was fine. He had money. He was, like, very well known. I'm not spilling any more details than that. And he could sing as well. That was his profession. But, like, 1 to 2 weeks, and I was like, do you know what? I could tell that the women before me have definitely let you get away with a lot of shit, because there's no way you're treating me like this. Like, this guy, I'm so glad. You know what? In hindsight, yeah, I can say this now because the situation was time ago. It was months ago. But at the time, it didn't feel good at all. But what I'm about to say is that I'm so glad that this happened, because it really has informed the way that I interact with men. And that was only like 2 weeks worth of time that guy spent in my life. And that 2 weeks was enough. It was more than enough. Like I said, not a breast was pressed. We did not fuck. We went on one date. But he was doing that thing that guys be doing regularly, where, like, you know, they be laying it on thick with you to begin with, telling you about how amazing you are. You know, you spend hours with them. Like, our first and last date was actually quite cool. It was like an activity kind of based situation, and yes, he paid for it. But I just felt like, oh, this guy's really cool. Like, he seems really interesting. And then he started doing that thing that guys do, where they start contacting you less and less. And then you're there feeling like, oh, I haven't heard from him. Maybe I should check on him. Like, you don't need to check on him. He's alive and well. You haven't heard from him for one of two reasons. Reason one, which I don't think is as strong of a reason, but fair dues if that's the case, innit? But reason one is genuinely he's busy, even though I don't think a man is too busy for pussy. But anyway, genuinely he's busy. Reason number two is he's talking to someone else who is just as amazing as you are, because usually good-looking men have way more access to women, because more women are receptive to men who look good. Like, that's usually how this whole stuff works, innit? Like, but this guy started treating me like I was a fan. And I was like, do you know what? Let me come and be going. Anyway, to cut a long story short, his number is blocked. And the chat has been archived on WhatsApp. You know when you block someone, but you also archive it so that their face ain't even gonna come up when you're scrolling to go and find somebody that you actually want to talk to about something important. Do you know what I mean? Blocked and archived, unfollowed on Instagram, unfollowed him. Life has continued. I'm still alive. I have since met many other people. Like, you're not gonna die from recognizing that a good-looking man is trying to play with you. And some of these guys, they don't even deserve to be friend-zoned. They deserve to be exiled. Because friend zone implies that there is still access. These guys deserve to be exiled. Do you know what exile means? You have been banished from the land. Banished. And, you know, it could be argued that this guy, because he's so good looking and because he's so, like, successful on paper and in his career, he's going to meet many other women who are just as good looking. Good! Because he's going to do the same thing to them. Like, that's literally what these guys do. Like, men treat you according to what they're used to getting away with. So it's important to keep that in mind too when you're beating yourself up about encountering a situation that you thought you wouldn't encounter again, or beating yourself up because you wish you'd realized stuff sooner. It's like, you know what? Just take the experience and use it as information that will guide your perspective moving forward. So for me, like I said, that 2 week bender was more than enough. Since then, I'm not going to lie. And why I say I'm glad this happened, now looking back, at the time, was not glad to be feeling that way. But now looking back, the reason I'm glad it happened is because it's almost like, okay, I've survived walking away from what you'd consider, like, you know, according to society standards, an incredibly good looking man. I've survived that. So if another good looking man comes my way, do you think I'm going to fold? Hell no. Have I had another good looking man come my way? Yes, If anything, I feel like I've had a guy come my way who's more good looking than the one who I was just talking about of the 2 week bender. And this one, do you know what this one did? Yeah. This one, how we became what I would call friends now. We've actually met before in person, but it was like a very brief encounter. Like we were both in transit going somewhere. But we have mutuals. Anyway, this one, we both have each other on Instagram. So he would always be watching my stories. This is how it always starts. He's watching my stories. But he would always be watching my stories, and occasionally he would like them and send like, the odd heart eye emoji or like a fire emoji, or he would start a conversation. And it felt like, okay, I like that this guy is actually engaging, That's nice. Because some guys, they just be looking at you, but they don't want it to be known, even though you can see that they're watching you, but it's almost like they're suppressing their feelings, which is bare weird. Like, I don't know why you're here, but anyway. But this guy, he would still interact. It felt organic. Then we would chat here and there, but it kind of felt like, when someone just really wants to talk to you, and how you can tell that they really want to talk to you is because when you send them a response to the thing that they've said, but your response is kind of not a dead end, but it's like, the conversation's kind of winding down now. Like, based on your response, like, it's not really much the person could say. And then they still manage to somehow, based on your response, they like cherry pick something, and then they actually ask you an interesting question, or they say something that now creates room for another conversation within the existing conversation to continue. And it's like, oh, you like talking to me? That is cute. I love that, because your girl is a Gemini moon with a Libra rising, okay? I'm basically an air sign. I like talking. And because I'm a Libra rising, everything I do just looks like I'm flirting. Oh, and it doesn't help that I'm attractive. So it's like really hard for me, because when I'm like talking to guys as a Gemini moon, I'm actually interested in the little details about things, because that's how my mind processes information. But because I'm a Libra rising, I'm really sexy, and like, I'm going to be a really smooth conversationalist, so you're going to think that I want to fuck you, but actually I'm just really interested in like the micro nuanced details of what you're talking about, and I can talk for England. So yeah, that's pretty much the scenario. And he gives me air sign energy as well, because we've both just been talking here and there, but it's not even pen pal vibes. Like, he's not trying to like, he's not been directly flirty in like a lewd manner, but I can tell that he's attracted to me, like, because once I started giving him more attention, he started talking to me more often. Them ones, like. But where are things at with this guy now, you might wonder? Well, he did that thing that guys usually do, where things were going well. There was no dates being discussed. Like, it was just, we were actually just forming the foundations of what I think could be a very sexy friendship. Just two sexy people who could be friends with each other, because, we both have a lot of common interests, and we got a few cool mutuals. But he randomly decides to just disappear. But, he still occasionally looks at my stories. So it's like, I know he hasn't died, but I think he's doing that thing that guys often do, where they test you. Yes. And that's why you can't get scared when a guy goes quiet after things have been going really, really well. Because usually when you think about it, a conversation is a two-way street, isn't it? Yes. Like they say, it takes two to what? Tango. Uh-huh. So just like how you were feeling like, oh, this conversation's going really well. Like, I will say certain things and he will cherry pick and start a whole conversation from like one word that I used in my 5-word response that I thought would have ended the conversation. But actually, he seems really keen to talk to me. Like, he's also enjoying talking to you. So don't think that just because he's decided to disappear that he never was interested in talking to you. It's because he's trying to test you. That's what guys do. That's why you can't get scared. That's why you can't fold. And the mistake I made with the guy I was telling you about, who I had a 2-week bender with, who was like a really good looking guy that he's now blocked and archived. Anyway, with that guy who's now blocked, the mistake I made was when I hadn't heard from him after we was on this back and forth bender streak of talking all the time, I was like, oh, I haven't heard from him. That's weird. Let me like ask him if he's okay. And now I regret doing that because it's like, he is very okay. He just wanted to see if you were going to do what you did, and you did what you did. And that has confirmed to him that what he's been doing has worked. When actually, a man who has got mature and good intentions will not put himself in a position to lose you by deliberately disappearing to test you. Like, what do you think this is? If you disappear as a means to try and test me, you've put yourself in a position where I'm now going to have time and opportunity to speak to someone else who I find just as interesting as I found you. Emphasis on found, because you're no longer interesting to me after you've done that. Like, old me would have been like, oh my God, he's disappeared. Like, whenever he finally does return, I'm going to be even more keen to be as interesting and irreplaceable as possible so that he won't disappear again. Like, this is how guys literally condition you to become dependent on their attention. It all starts in the early days of your friendship forming. The friendship that will become this sort of sexy, having sex with each other type of weird, blurry, friends with benefits, situationshipy, weird, murky territory. They are deliberately curating the atmosphere in which you will become dependent on their attention. Because if that man was confident in himself and his skills and his wits and his humor and his chats, he wouldn't need to deliberately disappear to see if you're going to look for him. That's so goofy. Like, and the more you become aware of this, the more you start to notice it in your interactions with guys that you're newly talking to. Like, they do this very commonly because they just want to see what will happen, because guys know that if you like a woman, you fancy a woman, it is your responsibility to make yourself interesting enough to her for her to consider giving you some frequent space in her life, which would hopefully, if things go well, become an opportunity for you to both have intimacy together. That's your job to do that. You need to earn her trust. You don't know this woman. She doesn't know you. You've come out of nowhere. Your secret intention that isn't known to her is that you want to sleep with her. Whether you're approaching this through the guise of being a friend or you're approaching this from a very direct place of trying to arrange a date, well, no matter how you're approaching it, it's still your responsibility to curate a safe space for this woman to get to know you in. And if you can't do that, then don't expect for her to give you access to her, bro. Like, for me personally, once I notice guys doing that, that's when I get the ick, because I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing now. Because usually, if in the other case scenario, the guy's actually been busy, and if he's your friend, you know, this has started through the guise of friendship and he's been busy and he disappeared. As a friend that respects you, he will come back and be like, yo, you never guess what happened, XYZ. And the same energy of him having been excited to talk to you that time when you were first, you know, sharing your back and forth before he conveniently disappeared is the same excitement he would use to tell you about what he's been up to and how much he's excited to talk to you again. Like, the signs are all there. And it's up to you to choose whether you're going to see it or not. It's up to you to choose whether you're going to believe it or not. And most people choose to not believe themselves. Like, it's really easy to spot guys who are befriending you because they want to fuck. It's really easy to spot guys who want to fuck, but they want to go about it in a way where they still get their needs met, but they don't want to get your needs met. Like, and those are usually the stingy guys. I just don't do well with stingy men. I feel like stingy men and walk dates, in air quotes, will be a recurring theme on this podcast, because those are the two things I hate the most. Stingy men and being asked to walk outside as a date. How fucking dare you ask me to walk out? I'm never going to get over that. And the fact people are accepting that. Like, don't even be accepting it from these guys who were already friends of you. Like, if your guy friend is trying to go on a walk, fam, I be going on great walks with my... Listen, I have this one guy friend. Shout out to you if you're listening. You know who you are. I fucking love you. I have this one guy friend, yeah. We've been going on walks for years together, yeah. And our walks are the best. We have plotted and schemed the most exciting moments in our careers on these same walks we've been going on. Like, we go on these walks as each other's therapy. Like, but that's all it is. It's a walk. It's a really great walk. And on these walks, I have gotten to know my friend even better. I have shared my most vulnerable moments with my friend on this walk. He's done the same with me. And I love him dearly, but it's still just a walk. And that's okay. Like, I'm not accepting that if there's a man who wants to sleep with me, whether he met me on a dating app, whether he's already friends with me, the best he can offer me to impress me is a walk. And people are accepting that. People are not drawing the link between how a man who's newly trying to gain a different kind of trust from you is acting to gain that trust. Like, why are people not noticing that if this man's actions are in line with his alleged feelings, he wouldn't be asking you to walk outside with him as a date. He will make plans like a big boy. The fuck about walk outside scheme? How do you even get dressed for a walk date? How do you get dressed for that? That doesn't feel romantic to me. But, you know, there are people who argue that it's the most romantic thing they've ever done. Good for you. Good for you, Alice in Wonderland. I'm happy for you, but not for me. I'm not doing that. Okay? Who want? Because even my friends, even my guy friends who I be going on these epic walks with, yeah, they would not even support the idea of a fellow man who I've told my guy friend, oh, by the way, this guy that I randomly met, he really fancies me and he's suggested that our first date is a walk. My own guy friends will be like, I don't think that guy likes you. If he wants to take you out, he better come with something better than that. Like, those are the kind of guy friends that I have. Yeah? Let alone a man who wants to sleep with me, asking me to walk outside. Like, those men don't even deserve to be friend zoned. They deserve to be exiled for even offering something so mundane and lackluster. How dare you? How dare you? I'm actually never going to get over it. I'm actually never going to heal from this. I am not healing from people telling me that the most romantic thing a man has offered them is a walk outside. I've had people messaging me on Instagram telling me that, and this is positive, but the backhand of this is concerning, yeah? I've had people on Instagram message me telling me that they are thankful for my podcast because it has saved them from accepting a walk date in a rainy park. First of all, it should not take my podcast to encourage you to not accept a walk outside in the rain. The fact that it's raining should be enough reason for you to want to stay in your house, let alone this man is telling you to walk outside in the rain. I don't even need to have been in the picture for you to be like, that's a clear no. But I appreciate that maybe me sharing my sentiments has helped you make that decision. I support you in choosing to not go outside in the rain to walk. I've had someone else show me a screenshotted interaction from a dating app where this man offered her a walk in the forest as a first date. And when she replied that she would prefer something that's more thoughtful and planned, he said that he's not a romantic guy. And then she was like, well, I would prefer a guy who's romantic. And it's a shame because I thought we had a connection. And he was like, well, maybe in future you need to learn how to compromise. Hey! Do you not see it? These guys know what they're doing when they're offering for you to walk outside upon meeting them for the first time from a dating app. He said to her that he's not romantic. That's why he offered a walking date, because a walking outside is not a date, first of all. Second of all, nothing romantic about walking outside with somebody who you're meeting for the first time on an app that is specifically designed for finding potential dating partners. You're supposed to be romantic. That's the whole point. And then the guy's telling her towards the end, his little parting speech that these guys love to do when you reject them, the little parting speech, a little villain speech is, I hope in future you can learn to compromise. So I should compromise on my safety and my preferences and my standards by accepting a walking date, but you can't compromise on making me feel impressed and excited about the idea of possibly going on another date with you by actually making plans that are going to cost you time, energy, and money. So I should compromise for you to have more access to my body, but you're not going to compromise in any capacity because you already feel entitled to my body, and I should feel lucky that you want to be inside me. This is what we're up against. This is what we're dealing with. People have the nerve to come into my comments to come and defend their useless walking dates. Don't come here with that shit. Keep that rubbish to yourself. The hell? If you want to walk outside, walk outside. People be putting themselves in the most unsafe situations, all in the name of possibly being able to have a connection with a man. Can you not see where your desperation is taking you? Your desperation has taken you to Epping Forest at 9 p.m. Can you not see that you are in the middle of what's about to be a murder investigation? Can you not see you're about to be the main character in what's about to be a murder investigation? All because you are desperate, because you are gagging for a man to claim you, that you accept the first thing that's thrown in your face, and that is a walk in the forest at nighttime. Have we learnt nothing? Have we learnt nothing? Because nobody has been able to tell me what kind of gold pots at the end of the rainbow they found on these walks with these men. Because more time, yeah, these men are dragging you out of your house to come on these musty walks outside with them so they can check to see how gullible you are. Because if you are gullible enough to have already left the house to go on the walk with them, that's phase one. They've ticked that one off. It's like, yep, this one has fallen for it. So now all the work remains for him to do now is when you're on the said walk, he's just going to be love bombing you with all the promises and words you want to hear. He's going to tell you that he's never met anyone like you before. He's going to tell you that something just feels right this time. He's going to tell you that he really wants to be married and have kids because he heard you say that you really want to be married and have kids. He's going to spend that whole walk just mirroring your sentiments so that he can fast track his way into some easy, free pussy. And you're going to fall for it because you're desperate. Men know that if a woman accepts something so low ball, so lackluster, so low effort as a walk outside, as a first date from meeting on a dating app, they know that you're desperate. They know it. Do you think, listen, let's take Georgia Smith as a brilliant example. She is a gorgeous, talented young woman. Do you think a man's going to offer her to walk outside as a date? Or do you think that man's going to put on his best Nike trainers and invite her somewhere that's going to entice her and make her want to hang out with him again? Because you know the saying, a monkey knows which tree to climb. Do you know what that means? Do you know what a monkey knows which tree to climb means? It means men know who to target with what behavior. Men will assess you and make an approximation of what you're likely to accept based on what they've observed about you, based on what you've shared about yourself, and that includes how desperate you are. So if you don't come across as a desperate woman, and instead you come across as a woman who has taste, class, and when I say class, I'm talking about someone that carries themselves to a standard where certain men who have nothing to offer you will just respectfully zoom past. If you carry yourself like a woman who knows her worth and acts on it, you're not going to be having men offering you walks as a first date. And even if, because sometimes some shit will slip through the cracks, it'd be like that. It's not a reflection of your worth. Some things will slip through the cracks, innit? Quality control means that there is a reason why quality control has to exist. There is going to have to be times when you will have to manually remove things from your line of view. And those are the men who slip through the cracks. There will be times when men will come and offer you something they know does not match what your standards are, but they're just trying to check to see anyway. They're just trying their luck because the chances are slim, but never none. The chances are slim, but never none that you, in your high regard, will accept a walking date. Because a woman can look very beautiful, accomplished, and brave, and bold and like sexy, but still insecure. And that's how you see these gorgeous, intelligent women ending up with these bummy men. And it's like, how did he get you? He just used words. Like, come on, you're not a child. You need to grow up. You need to grow up and accept, that if you're going to be dating men, you need to date with discernment. You need to date with critical thoughts. You need to date with your glasses cleaned. Yeah? No accepting the first thing a man offers you if it sounds like he hasn't thought about it properly. Because if a man has thought about his plans properly that he's invited you on, that man respects you and he's starting as he means to go on. And usually you can tell that a man is starting as he means to go on with the level of, like, first of all, how he started, but how he's maintaining that consistency. Because if he drops the ball 2 dates in, then he has dropped his opportunity. You can't just be like, well, on date 1 he was really nice, but by date 5 he's become musty and lazy. You have to go off who he is right now. And if he's musty, he don't deserve no chance. Whether he's your friend or somebody that you're trying to fuck, eliminated, exiled. It's a wrap.